All right, what's up, yins, guys? I'm gonna do a video here about. It's based on something I seen on a YouTube channel I'm subscribed to. It's about single mothers and the liability, and I'm taking this video as um, it's not like all single mothers are bad, because we know a lot of them that are because of other circumstances, and then pretty good people, but uh, there's a lot of people that are critical on this video. A few of them I see in their comments, and a few of them they're guys, and they're like right on. But then me and my girlfriend joke about these kind of people, and some of your girlfriends joke about these kind of people. I'm what way I'm taking this video is the liability of, like, even if you're a single mother, it's not your fault shit happens, but it's a gamble finding the wrong guy, and vice versa. Like, if you some of them work out. If you're a guy and you get with this single mother, it can be good. If you, I had friends that did a relationship work out, and they're still around. They're still together till this day and raised the kid right. And I'm saying too, like, I'm taking this video as, oh, all right. Let me say this again. I'm taking this video as that I was seeing as the stuff that me and the girlfriend laugh about, and that we laugh about to our friends. The junkie bar, the junk. Okay, I laugh when I'm thinking about this shit, because I keep having comments going through my head when I was on the streets years ago. These kind of people on the streets, they're the kind of people you don't want your daughter hanging with or becoming. It starts out as a young age, as soon as they're old enough to drink, and then they end up in some cases. Some of them came from bad households where the parents were alcoholics and junkies, and some of them outright rebelled against their parents. They got with these people, which you don't want to raise a daughter where they're going to rebel against you if you're in a decent family and be hanging with these people. But yeah, I laugh when I think about this. Is the barho culture that starts as soon as they're old enough to drink. And I'm going to talk about mostly the ones that are white, for that matter, because a lot of the ones I've seen, I'm not making this a racial video. Anybody else talks about that at their business, because I don't want to distract from the point I'm trying to make. Yeah, I think this guy in this video, and like videos like it, well, this one video, I'm going to type the guy's name. I keep forgetting the name. Stefan something. It ends with an X, but it starts with an M. Stefan, the last name begins with an M and ends with an X. Like, easy to find. Some people like him, some people don't, but that video kind of, I was in a lot of ways like, yep, that he's right, but I don't take it as a bashing everybody just because they're a single mother. Some people take it that way, but I don't. Every time I see videos like this, I think about that junkie barho culture or barfly culture, which maybe some of you watching, whether you're a guy or a girl, got away from family members or parents, or if it wasn't your parents, like you had maybe female members of your family, like an aunt or something, that raised a kid in that culture, and it can go either ways. Hopefully he or she grows up rebelling against it, you know what I mean? But like, I myself had a lot of shit like that around me as a kid, relatives and everything else that either drinkers or they got themselves messed up on drugs. I recently had a cousin that he did the big one, did a robbery right in his own town in a bank. I guess he must not have been all there and must have been really desperate or something. That's what happens when you get into addictions, but that's another story. But anyway, videos like this actually remind me of shit like that went on in the town where my brother lives now, where I used to live. And I had one of the best paying jobs I ever had. You're walking down, maybe with long hair and money in your pocket, or if you're watching, you have short hair and you're walking around with money in your pocket and you're a dude, or maybe you're a chick that that's wise and don't go to the bars and spend your money, and you're single and male or single and female that walks around with your nose up and a chip on your shoulder with money in your pocket, you're going to have people like us on the streets talking about you. Well, anyway, my experiences are you had some of these, right? You know, they go to the bars that a lot of times in the news you hear about towns shutting these bars down and making them nuisance bars. And you get these women going to these bars to go look for men. Even though they got babies, they're living in the low-income housing or whatever. And they want to act like they're victims, and they're teaching these young kids, the kids that they're raising, to blame and to hate the couple down the street with a nice car and a nice house, like it's their fault that you're growing up poor or whatever. But if they find out the truth, they'd end up stabbing their parents to death in their sleep or some shit, you know what I mean? Or some crap. But, yeah, you get these ones, like, for example, I'm walking down, like, with money in my pocket or whatever, and you get these ones that they're giving you these dirty looks if looks could kill, and they got babies with them, and they're like, maybe you come out of a restaurant, you come from doing your laundry or something, or doesn't matter, in the store, and you're either walking past some bar across the street or something, you know, you're on your way walking home from a job. But anyway, I like to see people do more funny cartoons about this shit, sarcastic cartoons. And I seen a video in the Truther girls making fun of middle-aged junkie bitches. Yeah, you get some of these that are middle-aged and they're walking around like us, and some of the younger and the older ones are hanging together, and usually the older ones are trying to act and dress like they're perpetually 20 or perpetually 16 or something. But anyway, yeah, it's not uncommon for me to have been walking around the street in the town where my brother lives now, where I used to live. And these, some of these, they're walking around with either babies in their hands or baby carriages, or sometimes they might have guys with them or whatever too, and they're with some bar, or usually they're a couple girls together with babies. And they'll give you these dirty-ass looks, and they'll either be cursing and talking about you behind your breath, talking about you under their breath behind your back, and saying all kind of derogatory and curse words, usually referring to you with the F-bomb. It's like, look at him. Who the F does he think he is? And all that shit. Be all talking about you, I guess, because you don't spend any of your money on weed or go to the bar or whatever, or sometimes you'd have a young crowd all mixed together. Sometimes it's with dudes, you know. Some of them are still living at home with their parents. But it ain't uncommon to have these to be all white girls or all white dudes and chicks together or whatever too. And it's typical of them, I'm not saying this in a racial way, to be an all white group there, and they're cautiously listening to nothing else but the gangster rap, and don't listen to nothing else. They're like patronizing and sucking up to a black gangster culture, which they idolize like it's their god, and they'd make reference to some other person that sells them their drugs, whether black or white or whatever, or else some person that's through urban legend and myth, like if you're in a town like that, not in a city, like that they're some big time pimp drug dealer or some kind of thing, and they're actually just a small time drug dealer, been in jail, in and out of jail, pretend to be in with the gangster culture and be all white and sucking up to a culture that literally imitating and patronizing the bad part of a culture of another race, which in a way, if somebody is black and listening to this video, they should be insulted by people that act like that are imitating something that if you're black, you should be wanting to walk up to some of these people. It's like, who the F do you think you are? You're imitating. What the hell exactly are you imitating? You think because somebody's black, they're all gangster or all this or that, and you're walking around in your bars and your shit like that, and people that got pregnant to some guy they met in a bar, and then they'll grow up raising the kid, right, to hate the people down the street, or the single guy, they hate the single guy with long hair, or hate the single girl that's walking around with money in their pocket. Like they're the blame for the kid growing up poor and teaching. And you get kids growing up like that. And hopefully if you're a kid growing up in an environment like that, that you grow up and rebel against it and don't end up being a drug doer or an over drinker like some of these people. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for the ones that wised up and got the hell out of that, but you're not allowed to talk about that shit. You're insensitive, or you can look racist in a way. You know what I mean? And don't even say racist rhetoric or whatever, too. But like I always believe what Henry Rollins always said. How about some real R&B, some real soul? I think rap actually was better in the '80s, and there was some good old music, the older music that other races were actually playing, like you see in the '60s and '70s. Back when I posted a video with Jim Quinn. I titled it, because I snagged it off an audio clip. I think it was really important how back then when white people were starting to listen to R&B, and it was making this country singer, Mitch Miller was getting really pissed off, some old crying in your beer country music. And he hit the ceiling. He really got all pissed off when he found out. And this was good music that blacks were playing back then. But yeah, that's something I'd slip by you there too. I think what did I title it? Jim Quinn speaks of rock and roll or some kind of thing like that. A very interesting video. How where other races were actually playing music, like record labels like Chess and Checker. He was saying it off the top of his head, but it's some really interesting stuff to look up if you're one of them people watching this video. And it's like, how do you criticize certain things like without looking racist, without looking insensitive, and all that stuff? But there's some really wonderful stuff out there that this lifestyle that will actually teach other generations to start limiting themselves from and shaming them out of, when they should be out there exploring, looking for truth, like music-wise. But I know that's a little off the subject, but that came off the top of my head, because it dovetails into a behavior that different kind of people of certain age groups, as soon as they get old enough to drink, that they're engaging in these behaviors and these beliefs, and it dovetails into certain kinds of radical feminism that patronizes and rewrites the victim culture. And I'm not even trying to be like them other assholes too that are acting like everybody's a victim either, but some people do. That's what I'm saying. You're not allowed to say any of that. Yeah, I do understand people were disadvantaged too. There's single mothers out there that are nice people, and they made a mistake. They got some dude in some bar, some people. That's why I don't care for bars, whether you're a dude or chick. You can be some chick. Nothing wrong with having a beer and sports or whatever, but you can be some chick naive. As soon as you're old enough to drink, some guy cons you into having sex with him, and then you end up with this kid. But then you go in the bars too. When you're drunk, that's the most favorable physical condition for having somebody trick you into trying drugs and getting you addicted to them, whether it's meth or whatever. Like if you're drunk on beer or whiskey or whatever, that's the easiest way somebody can get you addicted to some kind of crap. And that's how a lot of that shit happens. And there are a lot of people that, like I spoke of, be using the F-bomb and derogatory and making curse words against certain people they see walking down the street that have money in their pocket because they like that lifestyle. They end up with this kid that they got pregnant. They met some guy in a bar, and they think there's nothing wrong with. They don't even think it's wrong to be raising a kid and then still keep going to the bar and trying to act like they're perpetually 20 years old, and before you know it, they're in their 30s and almost 40s. They're raising a teenage kid, maybe in his 20s, and how do you know that kid ain't even going to wind up growing up, repeating the same thing the parents done? And that happens, that's good, and that's why you got generations of those people. I mean, so if you got a mother like that grows up like that, you should rebel against them, get the fuck out of the house as quickly as you can. As soon as you get old enough, try to get an education, and because you need at least a high school diploma to work in a factory. Get the fuck out of it. Even if you got to be a roommate, one of your buddies or whatever, a couple of your buddies, split the money, get an apartment, and get with a bunch of people really that ain't drug doers or heavy drinkers. I mean, yeah, a little bit of beer and sports ain't bad, but yeah, if you watch the roommates you pick up, get the fuck out of that house. Don't get involved in that and get addicted to all kind of shit. I mean, I wish in certain cases that certain teenagers, or I wish some of these teenagers are able to run away from home and be able to get a job somewhere where they can afford the place to live, you know what I mean, and get out of that shit. Because to be fair, before somebody watches this video and calls me some kind of asshole like fuck you, who you think you know it all, I'm saying that once some people get into some cycle like that, and then you're a kid growing up in that environment, or to make it fair, if you're some kind of decent chick that hey, somebody conned you into getting you pregnant or whatever, you're trapped in a lot of cases, and how the hell are you going to afford a place to live and barely raising that kid, and how's that kid going to grow up and be able to afford a place to live? I mean, God forbid he or she grow up in just that same cycle, like all them old commercials I seen. Who taught you to do this stuff? Okay, you. All right, I learned by watching you. You know, like the drug commercials and all that. But yeah, make it fair. I don't think they're all bad, but I still think it's a trap that people get into. But some people like that lifestyle, and they don't think nothing's wrong with it. But there are people that get trapped too. And if you're a kid in that, growing up in that culture, you're trapped. I mean, that's not fair to some kid growing up in there and in a culture like that. And I criticize people that kind of, even though you can have a decent job and you can get laid off, people are going on that bandwagon and making all these babies, and they get laid off, and they don't expect it to happen. But if you want to be a girl single or a guy single, and don't think your whole purpose in life is making babies, whether it's the secular side pushing it down your throat or the Christian fundamentalist side pushing that shit down your throat, you're better off. I mean, yeah, in some cases, like, better off to adopt a kid. There's so many out there that can use adoption out there and all that stuff. And providing they don't turn out like the Melendez brothers, and killing their parents or whatever, too. I mean, that has its pros and cons, too. But, yeah, there are people out there that are making these babies that they can't even afford, even though they have jobs. So they can parade a baby around, and the kid grows up resentful because he or she didn't ask to be born. I was going to make a whole video on that too anyway. In a way, none of us, I don't care if it's me or you, none of us asked to be born. And then if we can grow up in a certain environment for whatever reason, then we're told how we're supposed to be. Well, there are some reasonable moral values we should be taught, but yeah, you can be a better class family that gets laid off too, and they think it's noble, or they want to show off the cute little babies, and then when they get older, it's almost like that video, The Story of Your Enslavement, the nature of the cage you're born into. You can be a kid and then taught that you have owners. Your parents are your owners, and the government is the owners of your parents, and your parents' parents had owners, aka government and authority, and that's how it's supposed to be. And you're human livestock, so to speak, and you can be in some junkie family or drinker family, and you can be, in a way, have an owner, and your purpose could be one or the other too. Fill in the blanks. But it's kind of, this is like a sick ass world, and whether you're in the religious fundamentalist side or the secular side, and there's this other culture that video, the story of your enslavement, doesn't cover. That's the street level, different ways too, different hierarchies that people are conned into or put into fear of being, or even taught to love that lifestyle and being tricked into being owned, so to speak, by the street daddy, the drug daddy, or whatever the hell you call it. And like you worship them and you get protection from the ones that have muscle behind them, and you worship them, or you don't behave this way or believe this way, you can get your ass kicked or even shot. Like if you live in the big cities. But it dovetails into all of that. And if you're a young person, a teenager, you can only hope to get the fuck out of somewhere and escape it. And some people have, by actually hitting the road and doing shit like hitchhiking across the country, but they end up homeless on the streets or whatever too. Fill in the blanks. It's almost like that video, the spoken word CD, Henry Rollins, called Everything. Listen to that CD and fill in the blanks. I know YouTube took down a lot of them except two pieces of that CD that you can see on YouTube, but YouTube blocks most of it when people try to put a lot of this stuff on. But anyway, I kind of stammered a little bit or almost messed up in this talk a little bit too, because I'm talking to a freaking camera, so I'm posting this as is. And that's it. All right.